He's a guy without a clue. He's a guy without a clue who doesn't know. He's a guy without a clue who doesn't know what to do. Republican or Democrat, he's not sure where he's at. It's not so much fun knowing how the country's run. Liberals, conservatives, House of Representatives. Are you right? Are you left? Which way do you lean? Who knows what the hell does that even mean?
Welcome to POV America with your host, Brian.
He's a guy without a clue who doesn't know what to do. Republican or Democrat, he's not sure where he's at. It's not so much fun knowing how the country's run. Liberals, conservatives, House of Representatives. Are you right? Are you left? Which way do you lean? Who knows what the hell does that even mean?
Welcome.
He's a guy without a clue who doesn't know what to do. Republican or Democrat, he's not sure where he's at. It's not so much fun knowing how the country's run. Liberals, conservatives, House of Representatives. Are you right? Are you left? Which way do you lean? Who knows what the hell does that even mean?
Welcome to POV America with your host, Brian.
Hey guys, boy, I'll tell you just to get started tonight, what a party I had. Oh man. Anyway, hopefully your Friday is doing awesome for you guys. I want to thank you, and I wanted to apologize for the rant that I had on the afternoon drive. If you were watching, I kind of went off the deep end, I guess is the best way to say it. I mean, with all the stuff that has been going on with Trump and everything in this country, I kind of lost it there during the ride home and went off on a whole bunch of different tangents. And hopefully, I wasn't looking to offend anyone, but it was definitely a one of those days where everything I read in the newspaper was all about, or everything I read online was about Trump this and Trump that, and I guess it's just really kind of starting to wear on me. After a while, I was so tired of hearing about, I mean, everything about the celebrities that say this, and I'm just so tired of hearing celebrities say anything. Then I read a thing that they want Maroon 5 to take a knee, and and all this stuff, and I'm like, you know what? I don't even want to think what would happen if Maroon 5 takes a knee. Stop putting politics in with entertainment. It just doesn't. All it does is turn me off of your movies. It turns me off of anytime you're an entertainer and you stay in the entertainment field and you feel that for some reason you want to have a voice in politics or whatever else the case may be. Easiest way for me to get turned off on your movies or anything is start putting your nose into the things that mix entertainment with the everyday stress that I'm feeling or that everybody else are feeling. Just be an entertainer first, and when you're all done and you finally lock up for the day and you're no longer pushing movies in my face or anything, then go ahead and have your say. But until then, I don't want you using your soapbox to sit there and preach your garbage that you're preaching. And I'm just so tired of the when I started this, I don't know if you guys remember, way back when, January 1st, I started this a month ago. Actually, you know what? It's a month today. January 1st was the first show I did. And the first show I did, I made it very clear that I had absolutely no leaning one way or the other. Not left, not right, not Democrat, not Republican. I was 100% open-minded. I was trying to put everything in perspective. I was trying to learn, because for those of you that are just kind of tuning in, for 30 years, I mean, from the day I turned 18, I could vote. I have never cast a single vote in any election, national, local, nothing, for anything. Not for president, not for local issues, nothing. I have never cast a vote. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not patriotic or anything. I mean, I served my country. I did 8 years in the Army, Desert Storm. I served during Desert Storm. So I've done my patriotic duty. But the voting, when it came to voting, I couldn't compromise my ethics, my principles, my integrity by voting for issues or people that I didn't agree with. So I kept thinking, if it ever comes a time where I agree, I would absolutely vote. But it's never happened. Never happened. Every single time there's been an issue, or it's something, because I'm not like I'm not like many people that follow blindly what the masses say. I actually take time and I learn, and I actually read and I study and I look at the issues. I read the different bills. If they're bills that are introduced, I look and I don't just listen to what Rush Limbaugh or Beck or whatever these other people are, Hannity. I don't listen to just what they say. I trust but verify. So I have never, ever been inclined to cast a vote for anything, because it's all bullshit. It's all a bunch of politicians. This you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. You give a little here, I give a little. It's not something that I'm comfortable doing. I don't want to, now. With that being said, when the election came around for Trump and Hillary, this is kind of where I once again, I got the phone call from my brother, says, hey, guess who's president? It's Trump. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. I watched The Apprentice. It was a good show. It was okay. So I wasn't following politics. I kept my head down. I raised my kids, made sure that they had food, shelter, clothing. We had a family. I had a job, kept my head down and just paid my bills and just, I wasn't focused on politics because I trusted our government and the politicians that were involved in the government to do the right thing for the American people, my family. I entrusted that. I didn't feel that I had to contribute anything if I didn't agree with what was being put up for a vote. Same thing with presidents. I didn't feel that I had to vote for a president that I didn't stand behind or that I couldn't believe in. If they were garbage to me, I didn't vote for them. And that's pretty much been how it was. Didn't vote for Bush because he paid back, and I rightfully so. What did he do the first thing he got in office? The very first thing he signed something that said the American people can no longer declare credit cards in bankruptcies. That's how he paid back all of the people that put him in office and gave him money. He made it to where you or I or, the American people that's hardworking, if they have troubled times, they still got to pay those credit cards. So, all those little things that I know makes me just not want to be involved in politics. But when I started this channel, I said, you know what? I'm going to learn politics. I'm going to start becoming more actively involved. I'm going to start following it a little bit closer and a little bit closer. I'm going to try and learn what I can. And you know what? Over the last month or so, I've been trying to do that, and it kind of tears me apart. It just does, because the nation is so divided on so many issues, and it's not really. I honestly, I don't believe it's the American people. I really truly believe it's the the politician elite that are driving this. I don't believe that the American public, the true American public, has anything to do with what's going on right now with the shutdowns and all the stuff, because politicians that are on the Democratic side that were for, like, for example, we'll use the wall as an example. They were all for the wall when Trump was not elected. And don't trust me with that. Don't take my word. Trust but verify. Go to YouTube and Google their actual, there's tons of footage there where they were talking to news media, news outlets about the wall and about the border and about tons of stuff out there where their own words are coming out of their mouth at the time Trump was not president. But as soon as he gets elected president, well, what happens? Well, now the story's changed. And that's the kind of political BS that it's just so far beneath me to even acknowledge it. And it gets me upset because I think about it and I think every American person out there that's a true American person, I don't care what your political affiliation is, of a Democrat or Republican, if you're not blind, if you don't blindly just follow a party because they say one thing, I mean, if you really truly think with your own mind, you're using your own brain, I really believe that anybody watching that actually has common sense understands the fact that, matter of fact, just the other day, 250 pounds of fentanyl coming from Mexico into the U.S. Now, fentanyl, if you're not familiar with it, just a piece as large as a grain of salt can kill. Now, imagine 250 pounds. How many grains of salt, salt-sized fentanyl, do you think is in something that massive? And they don't understand that this is the kind of thing that comes into our country every single day, and not just through the checkpoints. It's coming in through tunnels. It's coming in over the walls, around the walls. The wall isn't going to solve all that problem. It's just a deterrent that will greatly reduce it. So if you're an American that's out there and you have common sense, you have to understand that when you know that 300 people every day, I'm sorry, no, not every day, it's every week, 300 people every single week die from heroin overdoses. Now, on the surface, you might say, oh, well, that's nationwide. That's 300 people a week nationwide. Do the math, 52 weeks in a year, 300 people per week, and then do them, and then say to yourself, okay, wait a minute. 300 people a week, 52 weeks in a year, 90% of the heroin comes from Mexico up to the border. And now think if that was your father or your mother or your son or your daughter. Okay, because now what you've started to do is started to really put things in perspective and understand that's just heroin. That's not the fentanyl that got stopped. That's not all of the crack, all of the coke, all of the other things that are coming through the border, the methamphetamine. That's just heroin. Just heroin, 300 people a week. You know what? At some point, you've got to say to yourself, when is this going to stop? And how do we stop it? And that's kind of where the border wall came into, this whole thing. Trump campaigned on it. And he really said this is a priority because the drug dealers come in, the drugs come in, the sex trafficking comes in, you've got the gangs that come in, the criminal elements that come in, the illegals that come in, and then they utilize our system for welfare, and they utilize the free medical and the free lunches. Their kids get educated, but they pay no taxes. So all of these things are such a dramatic impact on our country. I mean, it really, truly is a national emergency that we address these issues. And as I said when I started this channel, I wanted to be educated, and I wanted to really understand the difference between Democrat and Republican. Why would I want to be a Democrat? Where do they stand in my country? And so I really, I put in so much effort to try and see it both ways. I mean, I wanted to see the Democrat side. I wanted to see the Republican side. I wanted it to make sense. And try as I might, and I've tried, I can't. I don't get it. I mean, why? Why would matter of fact, let me rephrase that. Why would any American want to be a Democrat? I mean, I just this week there was this big thing, and I don't know. I'm sure I haven't. Once again, I trust but verify. So I have not verified this. I don't know if it's true, but what I heard, and it may just be a bunch of BS. It may be totally made up, and they're just doing it for hyper publicity or whatever. Or you know how one Democrats smear the Republicans will smear the Democrats. So this may be totally made up. But I was reading or watching something, and they said that one of the states, I'm not sure if it was New Jersey, I don't know where it was, but they were saying that the Democrats, these Democrats were saying that they were voting to have abortions up to the third trimester or whatever. One of the Democrats said, look, even if the mother is dilating, the baby could still be aborted at that point. And now, I don't, once again, guys, I don't know if this is true. I'm being told that, it's like they're killing these infants that are being born just as the mother, that they can go that late in a pregnancy. Now, I don't know where you stand on the issue of whether you're how they put it, it's not, whether you're pro-choice, or if you're, I know there's pro-choice, and then what's the other one? It used to be anti-abortion and anti-abortion, but now it's pro-choice and pro-life. So whatever, pro-choice, pro-life, I don't know where you stand on those, but I can tell you that no matter where you stand, there has to be a line what becomes a viable life, a real person. I mean, a lot of people say if we do the x-ray and you can see 2 hands, 2 legs, that's a baby, that's a child. And now you look at it and go, okay, so now what you're saying is this mother can go in and once again, I don't know if this is true. It used to be where 3 doctors had to be, basically say, yes, this abortion is necessary for the health of the mother, mentally or physically. Well, now they say, oh, no, we just want one doctor to say that it would be. So, like, basically, if I'm the mother and I say, oh, if I have this child, I'll just be depressed or whatever. And then they can actually, just one doctor can now approve an abortion because the mother might be upset because she's having this baby. So I guess they've lessened the seriousness of it through, from the doctor's standpoint. And anyway, I don't know. This all could be just a bunch of BS to get hype. But I can't, I personally don't think that you can go to the 3rd trimester and still have an abortion. But somebody was saying the Democrats, this is what they want. This is how out of whack they are, how in touch with reality. Now that sounds like some of these whores in Hollywood would do that. They would go, and then if they didn't want to have a baby because of their career, they would absolutely wait as long as they could and have the abortion. That doesn't surprise me at all. But I'm just thinking that most Americans wouldn't want to say okay to something where it could be so late in a pregnancy. But I don't even want to get into that because that's one of those things where there's so many people that are so opinionated about it. It's just like the wall. I could sit here all day and tell you, yes, we need the wall. We need the wall because if it only saves 10% of the lives that are killed by drugs, it's worth it. But I can't, on some side somewhere, there's Americans that are saying, we don't want a wall. They want open borders. See, you can look at this a lot of different ways. And here's I try to keep things simple because to me, if it's simple for me, then I get it. And I look at it and I think, how much more simple can we make this? You cannot have it both ways. You can say, we either want open borders. Open borders means no wall. No wall means they can come in, the drugs can come in, the criminal elements can come in, the immigrants can come in. Open borders is just what it says. They're either open, just like a door. A door is either open, come on in, or the door is closed and you have to knock and you have to come in properly. So either if you don't want a barrier, then you want open borders. So if you want open borders, you're accepting the drugs and everything. Now, some of the people say, oh, no, we'll build it up with more troops. We'll put more manpower on the border. Well, wait a minute. Why would you put a human life at risk and add more border patrol? And they say, oh, we're creating more jobs. No, you're creating much more government bloat. These are not like corporate jobs or company jobs. These are government jobs that you're creating border agents to patrol the border, put the human lives at risk, and then they risk losing their family. There's been border patrol people now that have been killed. Well, that doesn't happen when you have an inanimate object. When you have a wall that is a barrier, it is a huge deterrent. Very, very, and you can even, if you want to feel warm and fuzzy, man the dang wall with some troops here and there and some people. But you don't have to have it to where you're trying to justify not having a wall by putting the American lives at risk. It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense at all. So it's like you're either for a barrier and making sure our country is secure and our national security is protected from terrorists and drugs, or you're going to say, I want an open border and we just want everybody to come on in, and you just come on in and be free. Listen, I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know how you can look at it differently. One of two ways. You're either for an open border, let the people come in, let the drugs, let the everything come, or you're for a barrier, which is a deterrent. Please don't think I'm like, oh, it'll solve everything. The wall's going to keep No, it's not. I know that. You know that. It's just a deterrent. All it does is it's going to keep a great portion of it out. Now, will they try to find other ways in? Sure. Absolutely they will. That's what the game is played. But the biggest way and the easiest way they do it now is the way it's always been. Now, I told you guys I watched Nancy Pelosi give this speech to the press where she says, This is not something new. We've been talking about border this and, walls for 30 years. And you guys, if you were watching me this morning, this morning, I was kind of going through that in my head, and I was like, oh my God, 30 years. You've been dealing with this for 30 years. I mean, just think of that. That's like saying, oh, well, from 1980, to the year 2000 something, we've been talking about that. We don't need to talk about things anymore. We don't need to spend 30 years to solve this problem. And that's what Trump is saying, is like, look, you had your chance. You had 30 years. You had 3 decades, not just 1 decade of 10 years. You've had 3 decades to solve this problem. And let me tell you why I have a problem with this. We have done amazing things in our country. We have sent robot probes out to the edge of space, to the heliosphere, and we have sent rovers to Mars to go ahead and run tests and beam back pictures and scientific data. We have done amazing things, and it never took us 30 years to do those things. We have today the technology, we have the know-how, we have everything in place to make these things go away and make these problems simply solvable with common sense. But that's where the people don't understand. They don't get involved with it. They just sit there and they say, well, look, you know what? We don't need a wall. We're just going to have open borders. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Because I guarantee you, if you're sitting there watching this, and tomorrow your son, your daughter, maybe your mother or your father, somebody that you love dies of heroin or dies of something that was brought over this border, or is raped and murdered by some gang member that came across from Mexico, all of a sudden you'd be the first one on that bandwagon about a wall. So to sit back and say we don't need a wall, chances are you're either living behind a wall now or a gated community, or you just have no semblance of common sense of how much we do need a wall. And it's not that and I've said this from the very beginning. I've said it from the very beginning. It's not that we need a wall to keep everybody out and that we should just close the border. Look, you do need a pathway to citizenship. You do need a pathway to becoming an American. And I think this morning I shared it with you guys and I told you, look, you want to have a pathway to citizenship? Very simple. The way you do it is easy. Now, this is just the first step, so I don't want you to sit here and go, oh my God. This is just my idea of a first step. Now, for those of you that have been watching, I'm a veteran, and I'm very proud of serving. And what I think to you is, if you come from Mexico and you say, I want to be an American citizen, my question to you would be, fix my mic here, how bad? How bad do you really want to be an American citizen? And if the question is, or if the answer is, I want to be an American citizen so bad, I would put my life on the line for your country to give my family a better way of life. So I say that we should open it and say, look, here's the deal. You give us 6 years in an armed service. Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, you pick the service, you give us 6 years, which means we can send you to Afghanistan, we can send you wherever we need to defend our country and our way of life. And if you're willing to commit that 6 years, during that 6-year time, you're all considered citizens, you have a citizenship in the country, and you live like Americans, you are treated like Americans, you serve in our country, you reap all the benefits of being an American. And after you have successfully completed your tour of duty, you become American citizens. Your immediate family, mother, father, I don't know about the mother or father, but at least son, daughter and wife, that type of thing, or husband. So that to me is where you wanna show me how much you want to be an American. When somebody wants to be a part of your country so bad that they would sit there and say, I will put my life on the line and allow you to send me wherever you need to defend your country because I believe in the greatness of your country that much. That's somebody not only would I be proud to fight it with next to and have on my, have my back, but that's someone that once they get out and they would earn my respect and probably the respect of every other American out there that understands you didn't just come to my country to take. You didn't just come from this, to my country to do any kind of harm. But you've come here and you've given of yourself. You have given this country something that so many other people that live here don't do. You've got young kids today that are gangbangers that are out there, and they don't have the same level of patriotism. They don't have the same level of dedication, commitment to this country as people that don't even live here. So to me, if you're coming to my country and you're saying, I am willing to die, not just for what I believe in, but for what you and your country stand for, that's the kind of person I can fight next to, and I would be proud to call my comrade in arms. I mean, that's someone that I absolutely could say would be a great American. Not only are you willing to fight for my country, you're willing to do it at the expense of your life. I mean, that's just a pathway, one pathway, not the only one, not the only one that people can have, but it's just a vehicle to get in. It's where you're saying, look, I love the country, I'll come in, I'll fight, and I'll be an American, because that's what true Americans were. I mean, how many people have died for this country? If you're willing to step up and do that, I think that there's no finer service than service to your country. I truly believe that. And and I'll tell you, one of the things that I really, truly, I try to keep in my mind is that there's so many, most Americans don't serve in the armed service. They might know somebody or have a relative, but most of the voting Americans out there have never served our country in any capacity. They've taken from it, and they've griped about what it's given them, but they've never given of themselves. They say, oh, I pay taxes, and that's their idea of contributing to the country. But the truth of the matter is, until you're ready, until you're committed enough to put your life on the line for this country, I'm going to tell you, you need to start looking at things a little bit broader and understand that what it means to protect the country. It doesn't mean just picking up a weapon and going off overseas. Sticking up for your country includes here in the United States, sticking up for the way of life and everything that was built by all those bodies in the cemeteries of people that have died for this country. That's what you've got to understand. If you can't fight the battle overseas, if you can't fight, in Afghanistan or Desert Storm or wherever, if you can't fight that fight, then the best fight you can fight is what's going on in our own country. Fight the battle on drugs. How do you do that? You do it with a wall, a barrier, just a deterrent. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's going to help people. And I think if you would think a little bit, just think and say, look, it's a giant wall that keeps bad people out. What is so wrong with that? I mean, what is it that you don't understand that that's a good thing? I think that so many times in life we make excuses. We really do. We make excuses for everything. And we love to stand up on soapboxes, and if you say it's red, I'll stand up on a soapbox and tell you it's blue. We do this for 15 minutes of fame. We do this to get a rise out of the people, so people will take a knee, at a football game to show solidarity for the national anthem that's been the song of our country for 200 years. I mean, you don't understand that not every battle takes place outside this country. And when you look at our country and you see men, women, children, you see all these people that are being affected by what's going on, how can you not step up and know what is right? Now, you can say, well, a wall isn't the right thing, and you can try and justify it, and you can say it's not the right thing because it keeps these people out of our country, that they need to have some kind of safety away from their country, and you can go through with all of these excuses. But the truth is simple. If you want to come into the country, you have to come in and follow the rules and come in legally. That's it. There's no shortcuts to life. There's no shortcuts to anything. And if you think that giving those shortcuts is going to help the country, it's not. It's really not. And this is not a Republican or a Democrat thing. It's not a political thing. It's just truth. And here's the truth. You can either open your borders and have all the nastiness come in, or you can close those borders and restrict it and keep it out as long as possible and be more selective what comes into the country. Now, that's not to say that 90% of the people are probably great. They come in, they want to come into the country. All we're doing is saying, let's give them another vehicle to do it, and let's put the wall up to keep out the bad stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. What truly is wrong is to turn a blind eye and pretend that 250 pounds of fentanyl, which was billions. I mean, if you think about a grain of salt, how many grains of salt would be in 250 pounds of salt? Billions. Now take that and put it out on the streets to your children. You don't do the things that are being done in this country without saying to yourself, something's wrong. Something's wrong with our economy when we continue to give free treatment to people that come here illegally. Now, along with the idea was, look, man, you come in here, serve our country. You want to be a citizen, you come in, join the Army, Air Force, Marines, do a 6-year stint, fight for my country. Let me send you to Afghanistan. You show that you're ready to put your life on the line. And guess what? I have no problem with you being a citizen. I have no problem fighting next to you when I know that you are as committed to this country as I was. When I served in when I served in the Army, I was so committed. I would, wherever they sent me. You want me to go? I would do it because I believed in our way of life so much. And that's kind of all. That's all I ask is, like, if you're gonna sit here and you're gonna try, and say you're an American, then think and just use common sense. Protect your country, protect the way of life. You might not be able to do it by going off because you're not in the military, but you can do it by being here. Don't think about it and say, oh, well, we're hurting these people that want to come in. No. If they want to come in, we just need to give them that pathway to citizenship. One way would be the military. That's a great way to do it. I think that's a great way to do it. That's just me. I mean, I'm sure these geniuses come up with stuff every day. I'm sure there's other ways that they can come up with. That just to me seemed like common sense. That seemed like an easy way to do it. Is, bring them in, have them come on in, and we'll go ahead and we'll put them to work in the military. We'll give them a way of life, and they can retire. A lot of them may even stay and continue to serve long after their enlistment is over. They may decide that, I'll make a career out of this. This is absolutely what I want to do. There's nothing wrong with that. And as far as, you think about the folks that are in our country now, okay, people think there's a couple thousand, maybe, well, there's only 1 million. Let me tell you right now, there are millions of illegal immigrants in this country right now. Common sense, folks, is all I'm asking. And I know, there's no way we're going to oust them and put them back across the border. It's just not going to happen. So to me, if you know that you're not going to be a part of any kind of ethnic cleansing, or you're not going to do any of that crazy things that people talk about. We have all these. Here's the solution, real simple. I mean, it really is. I mean, think about this. You simply say, okay, guys, if you're here now, as of this date, we can prove that you've been here. Come get your Social Security card. Go get real jobs, start paying real taxes, earn real money, and start become an American. Give them the amnesty that they deserve. You know what? It's not even saying that they deserve it, but you've got to draw that line. At some time, somewhere, you've got to just say, stop it. Okay, you know what? Let's put the border up. Let's put those in place. And the people that are here now, we'll go ahead and we'll put them to work. We'll put them to work. We'll give them Social Security cards. They will start paying taxes. And all of a sudden, what you've done is you have brought people not just Americans, but you've brought people that were apart together. You've basically said, look, every single one of these folks that are here now are Americans. So like it or not, these folks that have come to our country and spent 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, in some cases even longer, under the radar, they are now woven into the fabric of our country. They are already here. They're already working. They're doing whatever they can to build a better life for their family. So you know what? Tell them, because of what you've done, we understand it. Because most people came, and they actually, to come to the United States, they came through Ellis Island. They would flee their country to come here and start a better life. It's no different today than it was back then. Now you need to simply say, we see, we understand. Why do we understand? Because we ourselves, many of us, have been there. Our families, our ancestors came from different countries to this country in search of a better way of life. We've seen it. We understand it. We know where you're coming from. So guess what? We're going to go ahead and create this pathway to citizenship. One way is the military. Another way is if you can prove you've been here, at least a year. If you can prove that you've been here at least a year, different ways of doing that, But if you can do that, we're going to give you the Social Security card, and we're going to give you your citizenship if you have no record, you have not been a criminal, you haven't done anything illegal. Then I just think that is a given. Now what happens is you have a clean slate. You have no more excuses. You have now, let's say you had 10 million, or you probably have more, but let's say you have 10 million illegal immigrants that are in here working now. Now you have 10 million Americans, 10 million Americans that are paying taxes, that weren't paying taxes, that are working in great jobs, doing the jobs that they've been trained to do. You just don't understand how much of a positive impact that would have on the nation, the country, and everything. And that's where you have to stop and just stop being one-sided and seeing only one side of it. You understand that really what you're looking at is, how can we take the ones that are here, the people that came over here looking for better life, and let's help them find it. They've waited many years, sometimes decades, to just get by. And the sad part about it is sometimes just getting by in the United States, just getting by is actually better than what they had in their own country. So, I just simply say, look, give them their amnesty, let them start paying taxes and becoming part of this country, and then build that pathway to citizenship to where it strengthens our country, it strengthens our military, and it makes us a much stronger nation, bringing the two nations closer together. To me, everything that you do in life is going to come full circle. People look at it and say, well, you're building a wall, and this is... No. You can't say we're building a wall because we don't want them coming in. It's not it. That's the lie that's been perpetrated. That's what they want you to believe, that the wall is to keep them out. And what the wall is not to keep them out. The word them is very indescriptive. But what the wall is for is to keep the drugs out, to keep the criminal elements out, to keep terrorists out, to keep gang members out. That's what the wall is for. That's what the barrier is for. So don't look at it and let them sway you by saying you want to keep all these good people out of our country. No. The wall, the barrier, whatever you want to call it, it's to keep who out? Who's to stay out of the country? The criminal element. That's what we're not even unrealistic, and we're not saying we're going to keep it all out. We know that even with the wall, we're still going to have problems, but it's okay, because if it reduces it only 10%, that's still well worth every penny. So I'll tell you, I don't envy what goes on in Washington, that's for sure. Anyway, guys, my Mountain Dew. a little bit of the nectar of the gods. So that's kind of, so this, today, coming home and even going to work a little bit, I got on a little bit of a rant and was kind of just going off about a lot of the stuff that's been in. And I think after a certain amount of time, you just get so tired of hearing it. And people make it out to be way more difficult than it is, and I don't understand that. I mean, to me, it's like, look, this is not difficult. It's not. You need a wall because you want to protect the country. That's why you need a wall. It has nothing to do about keeping the mothers and the children from coming in. That's not it. That's not it at all. It's about keeping the bad element. It's keeping the bad things out. So, anyway, that was one of the tangents I was off. And then the other one, of course, was I think I'd even touched on deadbeat dads. I think that was one of the other things on the way home that just, and I don't even know what got me off on that. I mean, it was just one of those things where, I made a comment or so. I was in a thought pattern about what this country has come to, that they care more about keeping immigrants, keeping these people, allowing them in the country, and then they don't care about the people that are in the country that are actually, they go out and have 9 different babies with, 8 different mothers, and it's okay because that's acceptable. I don't know. Anyway, guys, my pumpkin seeds. So, I wanted to, that's what I'll probably let you guys know. I do apologize if you were watching the morning drive or the afternoon drive the last couple days. I was not there, and even on here, I had tapered off. I've had these 5 classes I've had to take for this, to keep my teaching, certificate and everything, and so I had all these classes going on. I had finals that I was taking. I passed a couple of my finals I took, and so it was really kind of hectic for me. And I was like, I had to focus. I couldn't try and juggle this and still, and still actually go ahead and finish these classes the way I wanted to. So I put those behind me. I have, I'm down to my last. I got 2 of them done. I'm down to my last 3. And I think 2 of those will be ending up in a couple weeks. I'll take the finals on those, so we'll be good. But there are definitely a lot more that I wanted to do that the classes just kind of took up my time. Now, also for those of you that had followed me, I told you before I was playing in a poker tournament, and I'll give you the update, kind of let you know what happened on that. Okay, I had a free roll, if you will. I played in a cash game. One night, it was on a Saturday, I think it was. I played in a cash game, and then because I was ahead, I decided, well, I'll go play in this tournament. So when I got in the tournament, I started playing. A little while later, they said, oh, well, this is just it's a satellite tournament into a bigger tournament. So there's really no cash prizes. I said, oh, great. Well, whatever. So I played, and I ended up winning an entry into this big tournament. It was like $40,000. Not huge, but down here it's a pretty nice amount. So 40 grand. Now, the thing is, you have what are called flights. So they play for 4 days before the main event, and they take the winners of those 4 days that get to play in this main event for 40,000. So you have to go through. You have to play one of any of these 4 days. So you can play on like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. So you could play in any of those four days, and all you got to do is make it past level 12. Once you pass 12, they stop the tournament. However many people are left, that's how many people will move into the Sunday. So I ended up going in, and 10 minutes, God's honest truth, 10 minutes before the end of level 12, I am chipped up quite well. Very healthy chip stack, and at my table there's only one other person that really had me out chipped by just a little bit. And this is why everybody, I always hear people talk about bad beat stories. They go, well, why do you talk about a bad beat? Well, let me tell you why. Because people desperately seek some kind of make sure that they didn't make a mistake. So they want you to confirm that what they did was right and they didn't make a bad mistake. And I'll tell you, I laughed when this is honest to God, 10 minutes now before, we're actually on to level, done with level 12, and I make it to the Sunday. I look down and I lift up my cards. I have pocket aces. Now, I haven't had aces the entire tournament. 12 levels of play. I haven't had aces at all. So I look down and I think, oh, aces. How awesome is this, right? So I put a pretty decent sized bet in, and I get a few people to fold and a few more stay in. Well, the flop comes with an ace, ace of diamonds. I think it was ace of diamonds, and it was two other little cards. Nothing big, and it was a rainbow flop, which means I think it was a diamond, a club, and a spade, something like. Anyway, so before it comes around to me, one guy puts in a bet, and it ends up coming to me. Everybody folds, and it's up to me, and I'm looking. And I'm thinking to myself, and I'm looking at the board, and there was no, actually, there was nothing that was really jumping out at me. But the bet he put in was a pretty nice sized bet. And I looked at his chip stack, and I thought, wow, he just committed literally. Now, he's first to act, and he's literally committed almost 50% of his chips to this pot. I think it was 40% that he put in there for this raise. And I'm sitting there looking at pocket aces with an ace on the board, and I just at this moment I'm like, there is nothing. He couldn't have flopped. Definitely, it was a rainbow, so he couldn't have flopped a straight, or a flush or anything. So I'm like, I know I'm ahead, but I also know that if I call that, what he's going to do, no matter whether he hits that turn or not, he's already pot committed. He's going to push the rest of his chips in. So I think about it, and I say, you know what? I says, I'm all in. I push all my chips in, and it goes back to him, and he thinks. Now he just, and I mean, I'm not talking about like a minute. This guy sits there, and he's like, a minute goes by, 2 minutes goes by, and he's fiddling with his cards, and I'm just sitting there. I'm like, so finally, one of the other players calls a clock on him. So the guy comes down, and he counts the clock down, 5, 4, 3, 2, and finally the guy goes, I call. So I'm like, oh, wow. I turn over my pocket aces, and I show him I have trip aces. He turns over a 6 and a 5. I think it was 5 and a 6 of diamonds. And I'm looking at the board going, okay, I don't see what he's going for. I'm like, there's no 5 and 6. Maybe he's hoping for. I mean, I really was just at a loss. It comes runner. It came the 4th and the 5th, and it gives this guy a flush and knocks me out of the tournament. And I sat there and I went, is it just me, or is this guy the worst poker player ever? I mean, in my head, I'm not saying it out loud. I'm just thinking. I said, "Oh, good game," and I really wasn't that. I mean, I was upset because he played poorly. That was a terrible call for all in. It was just terrible, and but I also figured, you know what? It was a free roll for me. I didn't have to buy the entry, and I went back to a cash game, and I did quite well at the end of the night. But I mean, it was a great night of fun, and I had a lot of fun. But I if you were watching before, I told you I'd give you an update. That was pretty much it. My bad beat story that kind of made me smile, made me laugh a little bit. But I tried to keep it in, keep things in perspective. And he was out anyway. I think probably an hour later, he was out anyway. I mean, I knew if you play like that, you're not going to be in the tournament that long. But I did get a chuckle out of it. So, let me see, what else? What's going on this weekend? I'll probably go play in another tournament tomorrow. I probably will. I don't know. What are you guys up to? What are you doing? Anybody doing anything tonight? Is it just like Friday night? You guys just swinging through all the different channels? I don't know. Oh man, I scraped up my face today. Well, I'm trying to think what else is going on. Really, there's nothing. I was going to do just a short stream tonight, maybe an hour. Especially because there wasn't a whole lot to get you guys caught up on. As I said, I had school, so. But I've still kind of been playing with the idea of changing the name of the show and maybe the theme song and things like that. I just haven't come up with something that would be I don't know, entertaining for me to actually have some fun with. But yeah, I do want to make sure that I get back to the schedule and keep the schedule up, because I spend all this time actually doing this, putting all this stuff together, and the worst thing I could do is end up not keeping to my schedule. But yeah, I'll probably go tomorrow. I'll play a little bit in a tournament there in the morning or in the evening. I don't know what time they have it on Saturday now. They've changed everything since the hurricane. But I'll go ahead and play in another tournament. Maybe see a movie. I saw a few of them last weekend. I saw two. I saw Into the Spider-Verse, which on a scale from 1 to 10 was a high 6, maybe a low 7. I mean, it was okay, but it wasn't all that. I mean, it got really, really good ratings from Rotten Tomato, but it really wasn't all that great of a... It was okay, but... what was the other one? I think it was called Kid That Would Be King. Kind of like Excalibur, like a kid in King Arthur's court type thing. It was okay. I actually like that better than the Spider-Verse one, so. But I think this weekend, depending on how I do in the tournament, I might go see Aquaman and another one if they have a halfway decent movie out there worth watching. Well, what do we do? Have about an hour been on? I'm about an hour, and that's kind of what I was hoping to do, is about an hour. And then I really didn't know. I didn't know what I'd be covering today, but I'm trying to think. I don't know. So, what are you guys doing? Anything? I mean, am I just sitting here talking to myself? Which is kind of what I actually any time I'm in, I always assume that nobody's watching, because it's probably the easiest way to do it. Because if anybody's watching, you kind of look, oh, a little chat would be nice, But, well, being Saturday or Friday, being Friday night, I kind of anticipate everybody getting ready to go out about 8 o'clock. And this is another thing I talked about, was changing the show times, and kind of adjusting them. Because I know that a lot of people, especially on the Friday nights or whatever, they get ready to go out. They're not going to sit there and just be clicking around streams to find stuff to watch. So I'm kind of going, okay, I'll think about changing the times too a little bit. And the days. I might actually start streaming on Saturday and Sunday when people are actually there to watch. But I will say, one of the things that I will go ahead and put in my total self-serving promo, if you will, and I'll ask, if for some reason you happen to be dropping by and just kind of checking out the channel, if you could follow or subscribe on whatever platform you're on, or if you're on Twitch, just do a follow. I'm trying to, being that this is a new channel, and I'm just kind of a new streamer, I would like to build up to where I can get some of the things that Twitch has to offer, but they make it hard. So they talk about looking for content providers, but yet they make it very difficult for you to achieve and utilize some of the things you need to be successful. So hopefully, if enough people follow, we can go ahead and get get the people on board to help me out. And I definitely appreciate anything. If you can always subscribe. You can always, if you do the bits. I don't know how that works yet. I haven't actually had anybody give me bits, but if you have bits, definitely appreciate it. Follow if you can. I appreciate that as well. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to go ahead and cut it short tonight. And we did about an hour. So I'm going to try and get back into the swing of doing these things on a regular basis. And kind of find what's going to be the best, best platform, not platform, but the best show style to do. Anyway, guys, I do want to say thanks, and have a great weekend. Have a great Friday night if you're getting ready to go out, and maybe I'll go ahead and catch you guys a little later. But have a good one. It was great to see you again. So we'll see you a little bit later on. Have a nice night.